Hello, my name is Keith Schengili-Roberts, and I am the professor for the Information Architecture course INF2170 that is being held by the Faculty of Information at the University of Toronto. And I'm going to be walking you through the process of working with the Content Auditor program and how it also relates to the very first project, and also arguably what you can learn from this particular process, and how it can also be applied to getting a better understanding of the website that you've chosen. And how it can also be potentially applied to further projects in terms of what you end up learning from this exercise. But the first thing you have to do is to create an account. So this is basically what you'll find when you go to the OnPoint Content Auditor website, which, by the way, is contentauditor.onpointsuite.ca. And again, if you all you have to do is essentially do a search on OnPoint Content Auditor in Google, you will find this, and this is what you're going to be presented with. So I'm assuming pretty much everybody in this case will not have a pre-existing account. So what you have to do in this case is click on the Create an Account. That's what I'm going to do here, and this is where you'll actually enter an email and a password. Okay. What I've chosen in this case, I've actually set up a kind of a dummy password in this, dummy email. I just needed to set up something new for this particular site, so I've chosen Information Architect Prof @gmail.com. Hey, how was that not chosen before? And all I'm going to say is that please don't email me at that email address. This is purely to set up an account so you can actually see this process. And then I'm going to put in the password. And by the way, this is kind of this is interesting. The show password here is a bit, this is kind of like a weird little UI glitch. I actually discovered this before, so I'm going to paste in my super secret password here. And you see, if I'm typing this in, you might think that, wait a second, if I'm typing this in, it's going to show it automatically. If I click on show, and I don't really care because I don't use this password anywhere else, you'll actually see that it then goes, oh, so I actually click on it to show it, and then click on it here to, it's kind of odd, to be honest, at least the way that I think of it. But in any event, that's how you would actually go about creating an account. So I'm going to click on Create Account. And there we go, and I get a thing here saying, yes, I guess I'll save the password for within this particular browser. And I'm going to, you see, what I want to do now is to add a site. I can actually do it via the link here, or I can click up here to do it. Now, the website, I'm just going to launch a brand new page here. It's actually, bear with me a moment as I type this in. There we go. It's this particular website. It's actually a music website. It has a bunch of artists that I like, and I'm just kind of curious as to how these types of sites are put together. So here we are with sort of the standard sort of carousel showing the various artists that they have. So not a lot of text on this, and there is information overlaying the image, and then they have news in this case, and other stuff that comes up. Then we have some videos. Now that's interesting because what we'll see later is that supposedly there are no actual videos embedded in these pages. But anyways, I'm talking ahead of what you're going to see later. Anyways, I just find this kind of an interesting website. This seems to be constructed in a similar manner to other websites in this domain. Another similar type of website is the Cherry Red Records website. Very, very similar, but has is considerably larger, which is part of the reason why I wanted to choose a website that is arguably small enough to fall within the scope of what we might want to do within this course. And if you have an interest in this particular website, this is up for grabs. But please let me know. All right. So this is the site I want to point it to, and this is the URL. So I'm just going to copy that, come back here, and I'm going to click on the Add a Site button. And then once the base URL, so I'm just going to pop that in, and this is for my benefit. What's it called? Art of Fact Records, just to throw that in. The advanced options are things that you might want to blacklist. This is only for larger sites where you may want to essentially say ignore these directories. So For example, if in this case there is a section called artists, if I wanted to ignore everything in the artist subdirectory, I would type in artifact.com/artists, and then it would ignore everything that's then below that point. But that's not what we want to do in this particular case. And note here, it says crawls are limited to 1,000 pages per site in free tier. The results actually say it's 100. Again, another reason not to go for too large a website, because you won't actually be able to get anything that is comprehensive. So a website that is, on the 100-page end of things is really what you're looking for. So I'm just going to close that. I'm going to say, not close this. I want to add this site. That's what I want. There we go. And adding the site. And then what you see here, you've started a crawl. We'll email you when it's done. Our crawler is out there now collecting all of the content on your site. When it's done, we'll prepare a report for you. If your site is large, this could take a while. Why don't you get yourself a coffee? We'll email you when everything is ready. And then, okay, that's fair enough. So now there we go. It's queued to crawl. In this case, it's number 1 in line, so there's nothing else ahead of it, so to speak. So and since I know this is not a large site, this will undoubtedly be done fairly quickly. Now, as with sort of the best baking and cooking shows, I already have this already dealt with in a different website, under a different login. So I already have the information I need, and I will shortly switch screens, and you'll be able to see the results of the crawl. All right, well, I'm back, and actually, it didn't take very long at all for my particular crawl to go out and retrieve the information. In fact, this came back within a mere few minutes of me sending out the request. And with any luck, that the same will happen to you. Now, in my case, actually, you're seeing this appearing in my inbox. You can see that here, but I actually found this in my spam folder, so I was wondering why it seemingly took a while, and it didn't. It just went, in my case, to the spam folder. So yeah, you might want to go and check the spam folder if it doesn't appear, perhaps in a few minutes. So just so that you're aware. Now I move this out of my spam, put this into my inbox, and now you can see this, and along with the links. So the first thing is check out the site report for an overview, and then see the full content inventory for a list of all your content assets. So I'm going to click on site report first, and sure enough, here it is. So this is, basically looking at the key data points for the website. These are things that sort of at a glance give you an idea as to what's going on, and things that you can potentially focus on pretty much immediately in terms of things you might want to fix. Now, note that, again, earlier we saw it said it was going to go through 1,000 web pages, and it actually came up with 100. I'm pretty sure that 100 pages is the actual functional limit for this website, the way they've got it set up right now, and that's fine for my purposes. I'm just saying this because I'm pretty sure the website I've gone to in this case is not exactly 100 pages. So what I'm saying is that you can pretty much expect the same. And on the whole, things look actually, fairly good from the start. There's 0 broken links, which is terrific. There's 0 duplicate content, also a good thing. It also gives me the list of sitemap levels and the actual sitemap breadth. So sort of the depth of the navigation elements which are available. It's interesting, it says URL level 0, so I'm guessing that means that there's not much arranged in the actual folders within the system. It must just be within essentially a database which doesn't presumably have anything much to do with actual folder structures. That's what I'm reading from that. And it also gives you the name of the server or the type of the server. In this case, in Nginx, I don't know what that is offhand. I'd have to go look that up. Just from the end of from the suffix, I'm guessing it's some sort of Linux-based server, but I don't know anything more about that offhand. But again, this is something that you can go and check. You can see what actually comes up when you do a quick search for this, and report back on what your findings are. Content experience. So again, we're looking at English pages. If it had more than just one language, it would report that. And in this case, again, it's really just looking at the 100 pages that it actually checked for. In this case, you can see the reading grade level is a bit on the high side. It's 8.9, and again, the what is suggested for interior pages is no higher than 8, and so we're going a little bit above that here. And then reading e-score is 48.7, which is pretty much in line with what you're seeing here. And then the average reading time is just under a minute, which is so not a lot of in-depth stuff, given that that's the average. Now, having said that, then we have this kind of a whopper that's of almost 10 minutes in length. So there must be something that has a fairly high, I guess, word count. Though I look at this one below, and I find it hard to believe that 1,262 words will take 9.6 minutes. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, to be fair, but I'm just going to take it that this is, this is its interpretation of the finding it's finding on particular pages based on the past experience. So I'm going to go with this, but I'm looking at these two numbers and admit I'm sort of going, that doesn't quite match up. Your results may vary. Minimum reading time is 0, which tells me that there must be, I believe that this goes off primarily on text. So this tells me that there must be some images that, probably take over and include text, but it wouldn't be picked up by this particular measure. Average word count overall is 116 words, so a lot of short pages. And look at this, a minimum word count of 0, so there is at least one page that has no content on it, though again I'm betting that the images would cover it off in this particular case. I'd want to dive in a bit deeper to see if that's the case. And then we have some interactive graphs here. So this one is reading grade, and you see here it's not just providing you with just this number at the top, which is basically the average. It's showing you essentially, here are the number of pages. So 23 pages between 7.6 and 10.2, 25 pages between 10.2 and 12.8, and so on and so forth, and including 2 pages between, so way up there, and then all the way down here, 1 page is between. So basically, very, very low. So the distribution here, you can see, is in fact skewed, to sort of the higher end of what you want, what you would really want to have in this type of website. And here is the overall average provided over here. And then we have the equivalent for the reading ease, which is similar to what we have here. It's a slightly different calculation, so that's why the numbers are a little bit different. But I would say on the whole, you really want to focus on the reading grade. That gives you, I think, a sort of more intuitive sense as to how to interpret these results. And then also the amount of reading time that's required. So in many cases, it's not going to be a whole lot of reading in this particular case. 3 pages between 2.9 and 3.8, and I believe the scale here is minutes, going that it goes to 9.6, and we know from up here it's 9. Yes, so that must be what's going on. So basically, a lot of pages with not a whole lot of content or text on them. Like there's clearly something there, but not a ton. And then it drops off fairly quickly. And then again, word count. So 67 pages between, so 126 words. So again, not particularly content heavy in this particular case. But then there is a distribution, and the highest actually has 1 page between roughly 1,200 words. So which is again what we saw up here. So that'll be that page there. Okay. Now we're looking at search engine optimization. So, and again, looking at, this is basically looking at all the things which would be bad. And by the way, there's lots of nice little tips here. So, broken links frustrate users and diminish your site's professionalism. Yep. And the fact that there isn't any, that is a good thing. Missing titles, missing page titles, 0. Missing H1 page titles, 0. And again, why? All your pages should have both title tags, the titles that appear in search results and the browser tab, and H1 titles, the most prominent header on the page. Search results listing typically display the first 50 to 60 characters of a title tag, so keep them concise. And there's more information that's provided. And again, meta description, missing meta descriptions, 0. Again, that's also good. And those which are over the character count, it's 28. And if I hover over this, Meta descriptions live in the HTML header of your pages and are displayed in search results as a page description. Keep them brief but descriptive. They're crucial in helping users decide if your content is relevant to their needs. And here we are, recommended 100% of pages, so all pages should have them, and the goal is to aim for 160 characters or less. So what this is saying here is that, again, 160 characters or less, so this is saying that there are some pages, 28 of them, where the character limit essentially it goes over that 160 character limit. So again, that's something you want to think about when you're trying to optimize the content on the site. Here we are in terms of average keyword density. So not surprisingly, given that this is called our artifact records, this particular combination comes up the most. Then followed by base artifact records, Apple Music. So I guess there's some of their stuff must be published to that platform 2021 this year, which is kind of cool. They're putting out lots of new stuff, I guess. Cutting flow. And again, just to go over here, density is calculated by the number of times a word is repeated on a page divided by the total number of words on that page. So, and again, it says an ideal density would be 1% to 3%. Much higher than 3% can actually be penalized for keyword stuffing. So recommended 1 to 3% per keyword. So there you go. And really in most cases, I mean, some of these are optimal, but not all of them. So you can see there in some cases where there's a lot of repeats, they would actually want to try to fix that. This one also gives you an idea as to media. So in this case, here the total number of images. Those that have missing alternate text, and again, this is a good thing. You actually do want to have as low a number as possible, and 0 is as bad as those you can possibly get. The average resolution is also provided, and the average file size that's provided. And again, just hover over this. Image size and ratio data shows that if your imagery is optimized for responsive design. The data only looks at images from the same domain as your inventory, the ones that have the same URL if you open them in a new tab. Images hosted on another domain are not included. So again, that's worth knowing. And then other types of media: 0 PDF, 0 Word files, 0 Excel, 0 PowerPoint, 0 video files. So that, again, that's kind of an interesting thing, given this is a website that is devoted to audio recordings of one sort or another. It's the fact that there's nothing here is telling me that everything is represented as web pages and images. There's basically nothing else. I'm actually kind of surprised by this one, by video files being 0, but I would hazard to guess that if there are any videos that they perhaps would then be hosted off-site, that would be my guess. Let's have a quick look at this. How many files are hiding in dusty corners? This is important because content in files can be harder for search engines to index and therefore harder for your users to find. Yep, that is definitely true. So for the most part, you do want to try to shy away from this, though there are some circumstances where you might actually want to put content into things like PDF files, like if you're a municipal website and you're recording things like, say, the meeting minutes for a council meeting, quite often they're put into PDF files, and I mean, they can certainly be put into HTML files, but you can have some very, very long pages at that point. So that's one of the reasons why in some cases it is feasible to drop things into PDF files. Now that's if, keep in mind, as it said here, there are some cases where it will make things harder to find. However, if you want to look through the minutes of a council meeting, having them in something like a PDF file is not necessarily the worst way of doing that. And then we have responsive readiness. And again, I'll just come over here. Today, the web is experienced on countless different devices and screen sizes. A responsive site assures an optimal content experience on any device now or in the future. Here's a summary of content considerations and issues to address in order to allow it to be responsive. So, tables, 0 tables, and why? Well, you don't want users pinching and zooming around on tables that were intended for a much larger screen. Some of the content might need restructuring for smaller devices. Okay. Inline styles, a number of inline styles here. These can cause problems by overwriting style sheets, which can break your content when going responsive. And then we have iframes, which is, again, kind of iframe is an internal frame that can, I believe, cause problems from a responsive standpoint. So that's something else you might want to look at. the same goes for object tags, and actually that's interesting. Object tags, this is typically how video files are referenced within HTML. So the video files up here and the object tells me that this website basically doesn't, to my mind, kind of rather surprisingly link to something like YouTube. So that's interesting. That tells me that there's really are no videos, which is I kind of interesting for a website that deals with music. So yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, so this is the summary report. This gives you a sort of like a synopsis of sort of the key features of your website. But now let's go to the top. Now, by the way, this information is also available in here. I can go to see the full content inventory. In this case, I'm just going to click on inventory. And this is what you get back. And there's a lot of information here. Now it does, again, repeating, this only does, at least in my case, the 100 pages. And just scrolling through, this is only half of it. This is only page 1. There's a second page in my case. And it's starting from the main page and then essentially sequentially going down to about artists, and then, oh wow, I don't know what that is. That is a whole lot of things being done for that Cyrillic. So it's a band using Cyrillic lettering. That's kind of cool. And then that URL is rendered accordingly. And then I guess another band, Seeming, Seer, Solo, Ensembles, Solveig, Mathildur, Spectres, the Foreign Resorts. So these are all presumably artists. Yeah, in fact, you can sort of tell by what you're seeing here that as to what's going on. Now, there is a lot of information provided in the header, and you see there's a scroll bar here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And this allows you to sort of drill down to find out exactly where any major issues are. And notice that there's also a filtering mechanism. I'm not going to really do that in this particular case, but if you wanted to find the pages on your site that were missing an H1 tag, missing a language description, missing a title, had broken links, had frames, what have you, this is the way that you can actually go and find them. So here we are. We can do reading grade, and we can actually also, and 0. So this really tells me that there's next to no actual textual content on this page. It's probably just some very basic things, and it's mainly images. In fact, doing a quick look at the website sort of tells you that is kind of what's going on. So here we are. We just have the basic navigation and scrolling down, and then news, new releases, video, and it does have videos. That's interesting. So that's what I thought. I want to have a closer look at that then. That's interesting, because the results are suggesting that that's not the case. And then we have a Spotify thing here, and then we have basic information on contact, and then some basic. So you can see there's probably way less than 100 words on this particular page, which would then go on to explain why basically reading grade is 0, because there's really actually that's a point. The algorithm has to have a certain amount of content on the page, and I believe the threshold is around 100 words for it to be able to report back anything sensible. So if the page has less than that threshold, it's going to report 0, because reporting anything higher would be more incorrect than simply 0. And here we are by reading time, the actual word count that is presented. Again, this does not include anything that's actually embedded in images. External links on a page, so lots of external links in this particular page, way more here. Oh, again, but that makes sense as for the artist listing. And then we have things where you will see a lot of NAs, audit notes, redundant, outdated, trivial, incomplete, style rating. This is because this is not something that the program can really do. These are really fields designed for you to make actual notes about anything, like going through these pages one by one and determining whether or not you see anything that is clearly redundant, outdated, trivial, or incomplete. Now, this is not something that we're going to be doing for this particular exercise. So don't worry about that in this particular case, but in a full-up actual content, professional content audit, yes, you would actually be wanting to use these fields and then do something with them. Now in this case, this is the one case where there is in fact, it says missing heading. So that's potentially a problem there. And I can also do a quick search to see, and just do a sort to see if, whoops, wrong way. There we are. So it is in fact only the one and only page that has that problem. The same would then go for meta description. And now I'm just going to scroll. So pages that don't have meta descriptions would appear meta keywords where there's issues. And again, I can just do a sort. Oops. And of course, it's the wrong way around. There we go. Let's try it again and scroll again. And oh, maybe I thought I saw some red there. Maybe, okay, hang on. Oh, maybe it's on the second page. Yes, it would be on the second page. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that then. And we know that there's no broken links from the previous page. The number of internal links on the page, which can also be important from an SEO perspective. Generally speaking, pages that have a lot of internal connections do tend to rate higher on average in terms of an SEO rating. The pages that have forms on them, the number of images on a page, whether or not there's any tables on a page, object tags, embed tags, H1, the header tags, iframes, inline styles, and then whether or not the language setting is actually set. It is in this case to all pages and to English. And then information on the reading ease, the latency for a given page, which is rather interesting. This is saying that this is how long it takes to load, and given that there's so many, it seems to be like a very image-intensive website, albeit still images for the most part. You know, if there's some serious issues there, that would come up. I mean, this it's interesting. This takes almost 1.5 seconds to load. That's what that's saying there. Let's do a sort. And okay, let's go back to that. So there we are. So there are some pages that have a lot of, you know, that can take quite a long time to load, which in its entirety. So again, that is potentially a problem. And again, like that's with this particular website, you might want to take a look at something like that and note whether or not there's a lot of pages on your target website where that is a problem. I'm hoping that in many cases that won't in fact be an issue. And then this looks at the actual depth of the page within the site. So in terms of where it is within the hierarchy of navigation elements and pages within the website. So this identifies where it is. Now, having said that, I mean you can certainly do a lot of information by looking at this all here. And to do that, you know what you can do is to download it and then load it in an Excel file or Google Sheets to then take a look at this exact same data within a spreadsheet. And note that it's also not just now this is looking at the page view. This actually gives you a look at all the images. So we've listed all images found on your site with the alternative text, so you can review accessibility and the file name for SEO and common sense. Okay, so here you actually see the images. There we go. And there are a lot of them. Let's see if I can scroll. So yeah, there's a lot of them as you can make out of this particular case, and you can actually get quick thumbnail views of what they are. This actually looks at specific issues it wants to highlight. So if we encounter an error code, a 404, or anything else we think is a potential problem, we'll highlight it here. And in this case, yeah, there's not really a whole lot of actual, real issues with this website in terms of, now, that's not to say there aren't some IA-related issues. That's a whole separate thing. But in terms of things that are actively broken, well, that's not a big. There's no real problems. And again, we do the same thing for assets. And this is looking at things like Word docs, PDF, videos, and binary files. And again, nothing's coming up. Though we did see that there are some videos which are linked. So something else is going on there. I'd have to have a look at the code to see how that's actually being worked. So, but it is telling me that this material is not directly embedded within the website itself. It's almost certainly referring to something that's outside. And again, are there any duplicates? And I'm going to bet that the fact is that there is not. And yep, so there's nothing there. So the key thing you're really going to be working here for the most part is the actual pages. And I think it says taking its time to come back to that. All right, so now what I want to do is have a look at this in relation to what's expected of you in the project. Hello there, and here we are. This is the third part of this particular video. And in this case, I just want to have a quick look at the overall project. And really, really, I just want to focus on the aspects that relate to the content audit that's just been done. Now, I will preface that by saying that I think it is a good idea to look over briefly the problem description here, which is, as it says here, is to redesign the information architecture of an existing website. So your group has to find a website to redesign, and you need to inform me ahead of time as to what website you want to tackle to ensure that it's appropriate for the course. You should take the following criteria into consideration. You believe the IA of the website can be improved. The website must have the elements of the IA anatomy. So there should be clearly an organization system, labeling systems in place, a navigation system, search, and top-down and bottom-up IA. Actually, the other thing I would add to this is there also has to be it has to meet a certain threshold in terms of size. I'm finding that websites which are less than, say, a grand total of 20 pages is really just not enough to sink your for the group to sink their collective teeth into, so to speak, over the length of the course. So websites that are just a little bit too small run into that problem as well. So I would also tack that on there. And yeah, as I say, and then the website must have sufficient content. That is part of what's really being said with the third point there. And as it says here, the selection is important because all three projects will be based on it. Please check with the instructor as to your website selection. And I've already I've already been sent a number of emails by groups, and thanks again very much for that. And I've been responding in kind and then after reviewing the websites that have been sent my way. So you then need to come up with a problem description, which is essentially introduces a casual observer, meaning really in this case me, because I'm the one who needs to know about it. The problem description should be written at the beginning of the project, and they're important because they formalize what it is the team is trying to do. Until the description is written down, people can't be sure what they're agreeing to. And again, this is the idea that, for example, if I am the client and I am the owner and operator of the website, I would want it, a clear understanding up front as to what it is you intend to do in redoing the website from an information architecture perspective. All right. And then there's additional information here as to length and so on and so forth. I'll just leave you to look at that. But I do want to emphasize the fact that you have to find a website that is has sufficient depth and isn't too small, and also at the other end isn't too large to be able to tackle. And again, you're going to be looking at this over the length of 10 weeks. There's got to be enough there, so to speak. Okay. So now you've done the content audit. Now there's a lot of information that's provided. There's really only a relatively small portion of that that's going to be applicable to what you're going to see in for this particular project. Now, before we get there, there's the context. So I want you to do a series of reviews of the existing materials. There's also some good material in the textbook to help you guide this process. Your background research should answer at least some of the following questions if applicable. What are the goals of your project? Who are the stakeholders of your project? And note the stakeholders are different than users. In other words, these are the people who are signing off on the decisions on what is going up on the website. And you may not know these people directly, but you may be able to make some educated guesses. Perhaps it's primarily marketing driven. Perhaps there are other stakeholders that come into play in different parts of the website. So these are things that you might want to consider. Definitely try to figure out who are the intended audiences. It's almost always more than one. So again, if you're looking at something like, say, a website that deals with say animals for adoption, maybe a local humane society website, for example. There may be more than one obvious audience type. There may be, for example, those who actually want to adopt animals, those who may be in the sorry situation of having to let go of the animals they have for whatever reason, and also people who might want to donate. So right there you have, 3 potential audiences, and I don't doubt that there's more. You then also need to figure out what are the most significant audiences. There may be a lot of other possibilities, but what are the most important of those audiences? What types of tasks should those users be able to perform? Again, if you're looking at the idea of someone wanting to adopt an animal, yeah, you want to go like, what do I need to know to be able to adopt an animal? Like, is that process straightforward and clear? How is the current content created and managed? And again, this is great if you have someone who has in your group who already has insight into that. But again, that may not be completely feasible depending on the website you choose. What is working for users and what's not? Again, you take the journey yourself through the website, see what seems to be working, what it doesn't. What technical infrastructure is being used now? What information that came up from the content audit? You remember for the site I was looking at, I think it was called Nginx. I could then put that into a search engine, find out more about that particular system, and then maybe get an idea as like, okay, is this something current? Is this not? There's definitely going to be some types of web servers out there which you will look at, and you can then find some reports as to is this current or is this perhaps out of date. You can definitely you can definitely find that type of information out if you go digging. That's if, again, the server name that comes up in the content audit is something that is widely used. And what is the technical what is the current technology that's actually being used? That's the other aspect of things. You may find, for example, that some older websites may be using tables to lay out the website as opposed to cascading style sheets. There's other aspects, and like it's not just a matter of like, does it look old, but is it using perhaps older web technologies to deliver the pages? Again, if that's not something that you can easily determine, don't worry about it. And keep in mind, you don't have to answer all of these questions. It's the ones that are the most pertinent to what you want to try to do. And now we get to the content portion. This is the section that's most directly relevant to the content inventory. So it says build a content inventory of the current website. Content inventory is about reviewing the pages, documents, and objects that are part of the current information architecture. You can use the Noah's Ark approach described in the textbook to help you. And that particular portion of, in fact, I can read portions of that just to give you a sense. So from the book and from those pages, this is this is about gathering content. So to begin, you'll need to find, print, and analyze a representative sample of the system's content. We suggest avoiding an overly scientific approach to sample definition. There's no formula or software package that will guarantee success. Instead, you should use some intuition and judgment, balancing the size of your sample against the time constraints of the project. We recommend the Noah's Ark approach. Try to capture a couple of each type of animal. In an information environment, our animals are stuff like white papers, annual reports, and online reimbursement forms. The difficult part is determining what constitutes a unique species. The following dimensions should help you distinguish one beast from another so that you can work toward a diverse and useful content sample. And from that, I'm going to leave you to find that section in the book and read the rest yourself. What it boils down to is, though, because each website is different. They may have types of pages that will form a something that is common. Things like, say, press releases or news items or perhaps blog entries. And this is something you could then also compare against other websites in its domain. So other comparable websites. So again, coming back to the Humane Society example for wanting to adopt pets, you might want to take a look at how shelters in other areas, other municipalities, even other countries do the same sort of thing. And just to give you a sense as to what are what are the commonalities in your website. And also you also want to analyze the content of the current IA using the following dimensions: format, document type, and existing IA that exists that's already there. If you have access to the stakeholders, definitely reach out to them to help you complete this part. And document the resources your group use, such as talking to stakeholders, help files, sitemaps, software tools, in this case mainly the content audit tool, to complete your content inventory. And then summarize your findings using plain text. It should include things like the following: an overview of the existing information architecture, including annotated screen captures. Go to the current website to perform this analysis. And then major category links on the main page or in the global navigation menu. Secondary navigation links on the main page or subpages. Elements of top-down and bottom-up information architecture that exist on the website, and then also looking at the different formats present on the website. So text, HTML, applications, image, video, audio. Now, what we saw with what was interesting is with the website that I chose is that it came up with basically nothing for things like PDFs and images and audio, and yet if you take a look at the actual website, it's clear that those things do exist. So the question is, well, how are they actually present on the website? So that means I would have to go back and it's like, okay, what's going on with this? And why is this not turning up as an actual file? And this then rolls into the third thing in terms of the different document types present on the website, such as PDFs, images, videos, audio, blog posts, so on and so forth. So as you can see, there's not like a ton of information that's going to be used immediately from the content audit program that will apply here. Yes, certainly some of it does, but another, one of the other reasons for the intent of having you use the content audit program is that some of the information that you will glean from looking at the data that is returned is that it will give you a good sense as to how the relative health of the target website. So things like, for example, broken links or absent H1 titles, things like that. Also the reading grade level. All of these things will actually come into play and can be referenced when it comes to future projects. But for now, we're really just looking at just what you see here. And then going on, there's also more information on the users. But I don't want to go into this now. This is something that I want to leave for the tutors to go in for the on the studio sessions that are falling later this week. So saying, and then there is also a summary of what your findings are. And this is again where you can throw in any sort of interesting tidbits you find from the content audit, along with anything else having to do with the rest of this project. All right, that is about it. I hope you found this interesting and hopefully enjoyable. And I will see you at the next class, which remember is not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday next. All right, bye folks, and enjoy.